I like that data execution plan. You
Right?
may have invented something.
Seriously, I've looked it up. I've tried to find a data execution plan because that's really what we're talking about, right? It's
Right.
not a BIM execution plan. Or I'm trying to find a data specification, or an asset management specification. We've got specs for everything else and what our deliverables are. And I have searched and searched in companies like, not companies, but the LAX airport, I want to say that they have digital twins and they have all of their RFP requirements and all their specifications online. I've tried to go through there to see if they just have a spec on the data requirements, because it feels like that could be a really easy Div 1 way to get, here are my naming conventions, here are the type of asset information I need. If you have a serial number, you are required to provide that. If there is no serial number, it's void relative to your scope, whatever, right? It feels like there's basically a data management system that you need, and then you just define that and it applies holistically to everything that goes into a building.
Yeah, and I think that, there's a lot of interesting data plans out there in the form of COBie, in the form of other spreadsheets, but I don't think that they're very well defined in that a common person can't really understand them in a certain way. Who needs to enter what data where, and how's that going to be brought in to the model, and should it be in the model to begin with, and what should be in the model, and how that all works. It's it's a little mystifying.
Well, no kidding. I mean, I have a lot of people when I have a conversation about data, for one, they go, what do you mean even by data, right? So that's confusing in and of itself.
You
But
mean it's
then
not
it's
in the
like,
BIM model?
well, then who's the data author? Well, the data author for design to construction, that data author changes throughout the life cycle, because it'll start with the designer, it'll move to the GC, then a subcontractor, maybe a supplier, and then back to the owner. So being able to understand the life cycle of that data and of that piece of information, it can be so challenging. And like you said, putting it in simple terms that anybody can understand, so that, again, you're getting what you need at the end of the day. And that's so challenging for some reason. It's so simple but challenging. Data is a 4-letter word.
Yeah, well, it is, and I also think that it also has to start with the owner in mind, right?
Right.
The owner has to understand what it is they want to track. If it's chairs they want to track, then they're going to want to be able to capture those types of things that are movable assets, for instance, right? If it's VAV boxes, then they're going to be capturing a whole subset of different data. Maybe it's doors, maybe it's security cameras, maybe it's parking spots. Who knows?
Right.
But we have to find out what's important to them. We can't collect all of it, because you could spend, a million years collecting all that data. But what are the objectives, right?
Right. And that's where the cost goes through the roof, because if you don't have that objective defined, then everybody's just sort of scrambling and searching and grabbing every single piece of data they can get their hands on, but yet none of it has any value because it's not meeting the objective of the owner. So I'm going to find data that's valuable to me, which may be when is it scheduled to be installed and how long does it take to get here, but maybe that doesn't have any value to my owner in the end,
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. Yeah, the data that's important to you may not be important to the owner, or it may not be important to the design team, but the design team wants to know this data.
Yeah.
And that's not important to us. And so being able to understand what data needs to be collected and delivered at the end is really the important piece.
Absolutely.
Obviously overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not all in the BIM model.
No. Yeah, just take the model out of the picture for a second and then see where you get, and then plug it back in where it belongs, right?
Yep.